We got Matt and Easy, Getters, Drolanak. Hey guys, thank you all so much for coming.
Friday afternoon shuffle.
Mm. And I see I troll for you in the audience here. It's good to see you too, buddy.
I just pressed the
There.
button, so people should start coming in.
Okay, cool, cool. I'll tell you right now that I troll for you. I think is gonna be like a showrunner for Phantasma because he's been going like absolutely nuts with a bunch of like original takes on things and just like his characters are really fun. So I'm excited to see what that kid gets into. Yeah, I know that we all know who he is. He just does some really great stuff. Um,
I actually
so
did some Phantasma stuff myself this week.
oh yay! I am so excited to see what ancient chaos does as he enters the portal. That'll be fun. Um,
Start,
I
but
will. I do admit, man. I do admit that I called it Chaos Portal. It's like inspired by your username. I was like, okay, yeah, there you go, Chaos Portal. Let's go. Oh, look at him. Oh, is he a mage? What kind of
Aw,
character? Ooh.
oh, what a cutie patootie. The very old chaos portal. Wasted.
If you let me, I would create the whole world myself. Oh, you could go nuts, man. There's gonna be like so many like layered like worlds that people are gonna bring into this thing. It's gonna be so much fun to see. But thank you all so much for joining. Um, we got some people still rolling in here and stuff. So I'll just get started by saying that if you are new here and this is like one of your first streams with us and stuff, you can find us in the on the left side of the bar here. There is two different forums basically of voice channels, VC Text and VC Create. And if you want to prompt with us, make things together, go to VC Create, and that's where you'll, you know, be able to make stuff with us here on stream. And then in VC Text, that's right above that, is where we're all chatting and hanging out and stuff. So if you want to see your username and stuff pop up on the streams that end up on YouTube and stuff, just say hey over there, and we'll throw it all together. Um, this will be a pretty fun stream today. We'll be doing a little featurette of a character by Bob's Blazed, who has done a couple of things for us in the past, particularly like very high stylized characters and environments and stuff. His dragons are pretty rad. So like he shared a character through the Chaos Portal that got me like particularly excited at exploring it with you guys today because I mean I've talked about it a couple times how I grew up with these Flemish comics, Suski and Whiskey, Tintin, and things like that. Tintin's French, but it's still close enough. Um, and Bob's Blazed made this like absolutely awesome character. Let me pull it up for you guys. So I have a Discord here called Movie Machine, and basically, Movie Machine lets us, have a place to upload and share as well as basically develop characters together. And the inside of here is something called the Chaos Portal, and inside of there, we see that we have a bunch of characters. Sorry, it's kind of cut off with this screen here, but we have the Lazy Marketer by Bob's Blaze, and we'll be getting into this character here today. Let me pull up his little banner that he has here. I'll paste it inside of VC Text so you guys can have some time with it. They made a whole little presentation for the character, including a bunch of reference art, a bunch of images of the Lazy Marketer. And it's really neat to see this style, particularly for me, because this is a definitely a Franco-Belgian inspired character in terms of the art style, like especially in the faces and stuff you'll see. But it is also like a fun spin on a spiky haired character that's different than mine. Like there's a good number of anime protagonists that have the kind of like swirled hair like I do, and this one being more like a fern, right, like a plant, is a little more fun for me. I think there's a little more opportunities for especially expression like jokes, like when he gets scared, all those little spikes should go straight up in the air, that kind of thing. We definitely should have fun with like that. We're gonna have fun with this character today. And then if you guys submit anything to the Chaos Portal, we'll also be exploring that today. So they did a lightsaber and other, homages and stuff in here as well. But the other thing you might notice is that there's also a good amount of like noir influence with the style itself. You're going to see a lot of black contrast, high contrast stuff. And yeah, it'll just be neat to dig into for this. So basically, what we're going to start with here is the example prompt that they had come up with. And then we will run that as a as a character reference. So they have a character reference and a source reference, and we'll pull up both of those for you guys to see in just a sec. But for now, I'm going to take us back to VC Create here, and I'm going to type /imagine and paste their prompt in there. The neat thing about CREF or character reference is that we'll be able to very easily bring our characters from point A to point B. Basically, we'll be able to not only bring them from prompt to prompt, but also insert them into existing prompts thanks to CREF. So beforehand, I had an over 100-page tutorial about how to do a lot of what CREF does automatically now. So it is something where I am actively like, I keep rewriting it and then going, oh crap, something new just came out, and I keep continuously rewriting it. So I will eventually get to my my CREF workflow, but I am currently finishing up part 2 of the Working for the Weekend Sage comics. I'm introducing a new outfit for Sage, which will not be next week. My 20th anniversary with my wife is next week, so I will actually be out next Friday. But I might still pop in and say hey to some other streams and stuff. But I promised her that I would take it easy and be with her for next week. So, but I just thank you guys so much for joining. And we're gonna be just checking out Bob's Blaze character here today. Oh, thank you, Getters. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. Oh no, it's the Duolingo bird. Oh no, what is he doing here? Look at him. All hail Duolingo. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. So the prompt is him in a purple button-up collar shirt and blue jeans, sitting in an office chair, working at his desk on a laptop. Red briefcase is sitting out open on the desk. Spiky silver hair in the style of Bill Watterson. So, because the phrase "in the style of Bill Watterson" is in the prompt, I want to compare the difference first off, like right off the bat. I want to compare the difference of removing his name, because it's a little bit of an irk for me to see that, but it is something that I understand why people do it. But they went with a source reference of one of their previous prompts, so it's going to try to take a lot of the style notes. Sorry, I keep saying source reference. It's a style reference of one of the results, so you could see that it's replicating that style. And then the character reference that they have is the same image. So we might be entering some redundancy that we can avoid by establishing more of a world for the style that includes a like a comic book panel, a page, basically. So we'll get into all that here in a sec. But first thing I'm going to do is try removing Bill Watterson from this and see how different the results are, and see if we even really need it, because that's the thing. In the style of Bill Watterson, when we have a style reference attached to the image, is kind of redundant. It shouldn't be needed anymore. You can always start off with an image that references other artists or whatever, and then use that image as your style reference, so you don't have to keep prompting within the. Okay, let me put it this way. It's a little. Every word you add is like basically technically like limiting the results to like a certain area of latent space. So like if you say in the style of Bill Watterson, right? It's going to keep you in a realm that's closer to that. So like and I see Getters and a few of you guys are already going ham on it, which I love. I love watching you guys mess with this stuff. But if we now look at this, okay, and you can see it really didn't change all that much. There's still a little bit of, and that's just because the character reference doesn't have a ton of facial detail. There's some changes in the face, but we really didn't need to reference Bill Watterson in this because of the style reference that's there. So, now that we can confirm that, there's a lot of testing that we do. We just kind of throw things at the wall and see if it sticks, kind of thing. But at least for this here, we want to now see if we can explore what sort of like comic panels can be made off of this. We definitely have some. Let's say here. Let's remove the character reference really quick so you guys can see what this does just on its own, and then we will try to explore. So let's see let's see what you're doing here. Collect. I want to see what you're trying to combine here. You put two quotes here, which I'm kind of curious about. Is that just so that you can work off of the image alone? Yeah. I figured you're just messing around. I'm just curious why you put these here. The two quotes there. All right, let's see what we got when we remove the character reference here. And yes, okay. So as expected, we definitely added a bunch of details in places that it's still the same character technically, but they're much older. They definitely don't look like the character anymore. And we have a lot of references from Bob's Blaze for other like angles and stuff for this character. So we might just combine them all for the CREF and kind of use that. Thank you for all the Duolingos. That is funny. Okay, so we see that we have the Drolinak is as well running a CREF and a source reference, and then getting a very similar result. I like how like predictable this is. That we're it just shows the utility behind what we're doing. So let's go ahead and grab a bunch of pictures from Bob's Blaze here of this character. So I'm going to open all these ones up here. I might avoid the one with the lightsaber, just because it might add a little bit of. You can see they have all these different styles that they were able to kind of craft with this character. Even an IRL one, which is kind of funny. If you want a little bit of. Yeah, he looks like he's gonna clean my pool, but he's very very suave about it. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and open all these pictures up and use them all as a CREF. And that should let us be able to basically put this character anywhere we want. And then we'll make the comic panels with that. I hope you guys are having a good day. It is a bit of an interesting week for me anyway, just because the anniversary is next week, but also because there's been a good amount of people kind of voicing their opinions about AI and particularly AI imagery, and I'm curious from you guys if there has been any sort of like I recently saw an artist talking about how they were accepting generated images now for commission. So basically saying, if you have an AI generated image and you want to use that as a reference for me to draw, like I'm not going to draw on top of your AI generated stuff, but if you want to use it as inspo, feel free to send it. The amount of crap that they got for saying that was kind of incredible, because it was like they were getting praise from a lot of tech folks, and they were getting a lot of crap from creative people. It just basically saying, "Oh, that's just cheating." That's still cheating. You're not supposed to do that. And the reality is do it. Like whatever helps you get to the end goal quicker. You know what I mean? Is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of like comic artists, especially, they'll just reuse assets and they say, "Oh yeah, no, that's wrong," or whatever. And I'm like, okay, look, that is more low effort than what I'm doing. Okay. Yes, you drew it at one point, but you drew it like 4 years ago and you keep reusing it, right? Like that kind of stuff it kind of drives me nuts when people are like that. But if we kind of see here what's generating now is a combination. It's just an image blend of all those images together, right? So we lose the character, we lose the kind of basically it's like what it was before we had CREF, where everything just kind of merges together and it finds the median of those images. So now I'm going to run that as a CREF, or character reference, and then in the front of that I'm just going to write comic panels. Let's also add an aspect ratio of 2:3, just to kind of encourage a more vertical or page-like shape, or aspect ratio. And we're doing this all in V6 right now. You guys are welcome to use Niji if you want to experiment and things, but in my experience, especially with CREF, if you're trying to do more traditional cartooning as opposed to an anime-like aesthetic and stuff, you'll probably get better results with CREF and V6 as opposed to Niji, just because Niji is going to inject a bunch of anime tropes into what you're doing, for sure. And sometimes you don't want that. And since we're doing a Franco-Belgian inspired thing, like it makes sense to not lean on those on the anime tropes. Let's see. Collect says, "I'm sure they are using at least pencils, which is cheating. Grow tree, burn charcoal to be a true artist." I wouldn't go that far. I will say that there's a handful of people that I think are just kind of coping, to be honest. Like, and I hate to say that's like the copium meme immediately comes up, right? But the thing is that like there's just a good chunk of people who are in a position right now who are kind of like planted themselves in the sand about not ever touching or using AI, without realizing that like you're judging the worst example of it. It's only going to get better. It's only going to improve. And because of that, outside of like minor hiccups and bugs and things like that, comparing whatever it is now, especially saying, "Oh, here are the tells for AI imagery," that's not gonna make sense in 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, it's just everything's moving way too fast. You know what I mean? Like, it is something that I wish more people were a little more patient. You know what I mean? But the quick to judge is just gonna be a thing. And I see Legal Beagle's going nuts on some style references here, so that'll be fun to explore a little later. But you could see out of the comic panel results that I got, we immediately have this character roaming around in some kind of world. Now, granted, I didn't style reference the first image Bob's Blazed included there, and I did that because I wanted to see where the character reference, like what sort of comics Midjourney believes it belongs into, before I started forcing it into different styles. Let's just pull up one of these here for now. This one doesn't have any comic panels to it, but it is certainly a rather like dystopian world. And with the idea of it being a marketer or whatever, the idea of a marketer working in like a in a city like this would be pretty fun to explore, especially like any sort of like, oh, the world's ending, but I still want to do my job kind of tropes. Yeah, that would be fun for this. But Let's pull one up with comic panels. I think the fourth one's the best example of that. And we'll talk a little bit about comic panels with Midjourney. So the first thing I want to mention here is that if we do a vary region, the world's ending. You need life insurance. Exactly. So the first thing I want to mention is that if you have a CRF of your character and you see comic panels inside of your result, you can just highlight over one of the comic panels like this and then submit it. As long as there is a white gap or separation between, each panel and stuff, just infilling them will essentially create a new scene, a new panel, a new prediction, if you will, of what would be in that place. And we'll just kind of see what those results of that is after we just, and keep in mind, we didn't change the premise at all. We could add a premise to it. We can say this is comic panels depicting the character doing something specific. But for now, I'm just testing whether or not it's whether or not we can stay within the style of it without referencing a specific style, or whether the diversity is so far that we have to reference a certain style, which we might actually reference something that's anime driven and stuff, or sorry, not anime driven. Might like Tintin Flemish style, just to see what is this? What is okay? The world is ending. You need life insurance. Featuring Victor. I like this. Yes. It's an advertisement that I put out there, and then we send the marketer out there to do it. I like it though. Okay, so this is the results that we got off of just in painting one of the panels with no changes whatsoever. And you could see that it does a really good job keeping the style of the the character art without actually ever referencing the character itself. As we see a shoe on the top right here, but I kind of like the flame one down here, or the kind of reminds me oh, they picked the new pope and the chimney is making smoke or whatever. But I think for the sake of what I want to show you guys, we'll do 3 here. Yeah, that's pretty fun. I like where you guys are going with this. There's a couple fun mergers of Victor and the and the marketer here. They picked the new pope. You need life insurance. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at this one. So right now, we have a whole bunch of images of this character being used as the character reference, but no style reference at all. And we've inserted a new panel onto the top here. Let's try giving it a bit of a premise here. And you guys feel free to put whatever you want into the comic panel prompts here, and you'll get something that probably evokes that intent. So let's just highlight over this area here, making sure I don't select outside the panel borders so that we can basically say this has to be a comic panel here. And I'll write comic panels depicting him crawling on the floor. Okay. And now if I run this at default, there's a good chance that he just won't show up because it's going to take most likely the shortest path to get to what we want, and the character references don't feature any of him crawling at all, right? If you have art of the character doing exactly what you want the character to do, that gives you the most intent. This is why artists have the most intent with character referencing, because they can just quickly draw that pose and then use that as the reference to submit. But for the sake of what we're doing here, I'm actually going to drop the character weight down to 0, just to see if it's able to force any sort of character that might be sort of similar to fit inside of that space there with the intent that we have written. Basically, what I find is that the lower I drop the character reference, the more that it listens to the prompt and less that it cares about following the design of the character. But that's fine, because we can then just in-paint at a higher value for the character reference to be able to bring back key aspects of the character, the hair, the jacket color, whatever it ends up being. And we'll just kind of see what it gives us for that. there is a noir element to this, which is going to give us a little bit of trouble because the darkness tends to play into things. But if we look at the results that we got with a character reference set to 0, we got a little sprite dude dancing. Yeah, we got some eyes here. Yeah, we didn't really get anything with the character in there at all. That's fine. Let's try that again, but this time, and I see you guys putting Victor next to him. That's fun. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and try this again, but this time, okay, we can either run this with the prompts inside, or sorry, the images inside the prompt itself by copying and pasting it up to the front here, but then it's just going to do another image blend and try to shove whatever is blended into there. So I think that what makes more sense for this is to we could either find a singular image that's closer. We could generate him crawling on the ground and then using that as the character reference. That's an even faster way to do it. But the other way, at least the way I'm going to try here, is I'm going to drop the stylization 25. Very, very low. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm basically telling Midjourney to stop trying so hard. So stop it. And it'll make less fanciful decisions, which may include less complexities to the ground and all that stuff. Oh, look here. That's fun. Am I caught? Am I fighting like an octopus dude here? What's going on here? I want to see this one. Oops. Clicking random things. Yeah, I'm in the water there. That's pretty fun. I like this. Kind of reminds me of the undersea episode of BoJack Horseman, actually, with the underwater stuff on the top there. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, we didn't really make much progress by doing that. That's okay. Let's get him crawling on the ground then. So what we're going to do is copy this character reference here. And then, oops, I hit reroll on that. Slash imagine. And we're just going to say crawling on the ground. And then after I get him in that prompt doing that pose or whatever, that's when I'm going to check out all of your all's comics, including the silly Duolingo ones. And we'll just kind of see what you'll get there. Yeah, it's very common that if you're trying to combine two characters, by the way, that they're going to merge into one. They'll have similar outfits. They'll all kind of look the same. You know what I mean? It really helps to have commonality between the two characters. So that's why like siblings or even like parental characters work better, because they have some element of commonality between the two. It lets you kind of like branch off of that when you need to in-paint them back in as individuals. So like, for example, in my comic series, Tumbling Up and stuff, Sage is consistently wearing a tie, and Michael is as well. Oh look, he's fighting. This is a spider that he's staring at here. But what we're gonna do is we can take one of these results, and now this is that character crawling on the ground, right? So like we can let's up-res this one. Okay. And then I'm going to use this as a singular cref. Okay. Let's see what the Wonderful World of Stuff said. I use character weights 15 to 20 when vary region opposed character, and then the stylized matching the character weight. So 50-50. Okay. All right. I see what you do. I see what you're saying. We'll try that out too. So let's go ahead and come back up to here. Have our vary region. Remember that Midjourney saves this, so you don't have to keep redrawing it if you use the same prompt. But what we're going to do is we're going to replace the character weight with just making it default, and then replace the actual character reference with that one image that we generated of him crawling on the ground. And what I'm hoping for is that there's a lot less chaos than trying to decide how the character should look, and therefore the results are a lot more predictable, and we can essentially be able to control this with a little more intent. Matt Neasy asks, what's the difference between a singular serif than a bulk serif? Ooh, bulk serif. I like calling it that. Okay. So the difference is that it's doing an unweighted image blend, which is why I actually ran the image blend at the very beginning of this, where I was just merging all those images together. All these, it's not this prompt, but I was merging all these images together as a prompt by itself. So no character reference, no style reference, just running those all together because I want to get an idea of what the results are, because that's what's actually used as the final CREF. It'll always be one image. It's just when you add multiples, it does a blend first, and then we'll use that image as the reference. So that means that your intent is a lot better understood if the original image, if that one image that you're using features the exact intent that you have. So we're going to take a look at the result that we got for that in paint here. Probably back up here. Okay, so it didn't do what we wanted it to do. It just made a big blank area there. So let's try that again. And this time I'm going to select a little extra area just so that we can go, all right, any potential variables, let's cut out all of them. I'll put out here, and then depicting him crawling on the floor. And we have the CRF there. I'm just going to first submit this as is, just select a slightly larger area. That usually helps a lot. And then I'm also going to run with the lower style. So you said you were doing it with matching the character weight with the style. So let's first do 25 on this, and then I'll do one with also a character weight of 25. All right. Submit this. I also want to thank everybody for joining. It's really fun having all y'all here. We got a good crowd here today. If you got any friends or anyone that you want to invite in here, they are welcome to watch the streams. I know VC Create isn't available to the public, but they can watch these, this stream here in order to see what's going on. And we could just kind of make stuff together. It is a lot of fun to do. Let's see here. All right. So unfortunately, the result that we got still is not doing what I wanted it to do. There's sometimes we just gotta hit a roadblock with this stuff. At least for me, the roadblock I run into the most is darkness. Is just trying to control darkness. We are working with a relatively strong noir aesthetic. And when I say noir, if you're not familiar, that just means like the negative space dominates the composition, and you're really forcing the audience to focus on specific parts of the image. Yeah, it's a phantom nonsense, huh? Yeah. Let's see what it does with the different character weights here. Okay, here. Let's see what we got here. Let's open this up. All right, look at this. All right, so we do have him on the ground here. This one was with let's see what the prompt was here. This is the one using Matt Neasy's technique of matching the stylized with the character weight. I think that's just going to make things like just more flexible, more predictable for Midjourney to be able to shove things into places and whatnot, especially with the lower stylized. So I do like that it showed up in the third one here. So let's up-res that. Fighting the darkness, not a metaphor depression at all. No, not at all. No, it's not a cry for help. No way. No. Impossible. But I really do love the spaces you guys are taking this character. Like, what is the comic panel of him encountering a huge monster in an ancient ruins during the night? He has a sword in his hand and a red suitcase in his left hand, in the style of dark fantasy comic. So in order to make this work, Trollonak, right? I think you're already probably doing this, but if you drop the character weight super hard, you'll definitely get you're more likely to get those props in there. So if I re-roll this and then just drop this to 0, probably get somewhere really interesting with this. Wonderful world of stuff. I'm sorry. Yes, that was your. My bad. I misquoted one of you guys there. wonderful world of stuff with the character weight stylized matching. He just made his briefcase and a character. That's fun. I was once. I also once MJ makes their wait what? I also MJ makes the image I raise the source reference, sorry, the style reference, and leave the character reference low, knowing it's going to give me the character too high of a style reference, and you lose prompt control. Oh yeah, you'll definitely lose some intent with that. But let's look at what happens when we drop the character weight to 0. Look at that. We have his sword. We have the description of the weapon. It's matching his intent way closer. Because we dropped the character weight in there. So let's up-res this one. Okay. And now we want to bring the character design back in. And to do that, let's first grab all of our CREF here, this like blended image or CREF that we did. The bulk CREF, as one of you said. There it is. I'm gonna grab this. All right, let's grab that. Come back down to here. And now I'm going to do a vary region on this. And for the CREF, we first replace it with the one that we have now, with all the basically all the character references in there. I'm going to switch to a much higher value, a character weight of 90. And now I'm just going to select everything that doesn't match the character art. And that's going to be like his top and shirt, a little bit of the hair, the face. There's a couple of things that we need to include there. But in order to do that, I first need to come up here and click this, just so I have this as a reference. So we'll first highlight over the hand and shirt and stuff here, something like this. And then he's got long pants on as well. So let's go ahead and highlight everything that is not right about that. I'm going to highlight everything from here except for the hair. We want to keep a little bit of the character in there so that it's more easily like going to be where we want it to be. Like if we highlight the entire panel here, it's just going to replace the panel. So we want to make sure we leave at least something that indicates the character's like orientation and shape in the space. So that's why I left a little bit of the hands. I left the suitcase. I left the shoes, and I left the backside of the hair and whatnot here. And we can then do this again to fix the areas I did not select. So you do this in chunks, basically. Go ahead and it's gonna let me get out of this. Oh no. There we go. All right. Had to hit escape on that. Cool. And I will check out everything you guys are doing here as soon as we get this in paint in.
They're doing such a good job. I love them so much.
They're doing a great job. There's a lot of really fun character minions. Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate that. Another Vicky. Simple for toddler. That's funny. All right, let's take a look at what we got. Oh no, not that. What did I think? Okay, all right, that's here. Okay, look at this. Look at this. All right, we're taking full advantage of the noir in here. This is really good. I like this a lot. So first thing we want to do is we want to pick the one that makes the most sense for like anatomy, right? Because it just means less work for us to do. But if you really like one of the poses in here, you keep developing this and end up like basically expanding out to a complete comic. So if we take a look, let's do the fourth one here. I like the kind of downward pose, like you just jump down from somewhere. Let's do that. The first one kind of reminds me of those like barbershop paintings. I forgot the artist's name, but where it's just like super clean line stuff. It's a pretty neat one. Okay.
Josh Nagel?
Yes, Nagel.
Something Nagel.
I don't think it's Josh, but
Patrick Nagel.
Patrick Nagel, yeah.
Josh Nagel is the one I hung out with in high school.
I love that artist. He just it's a really great prompt too because he just has so much negative, like so much white space to take advantage of and stuff, and for prompting, like you can easily prompt with Nagel stuff and get something really cool. So I'm just gonna highlight everything that isn't the hair here, and then we'll just kind of let this run, see if we can get the jacket to be purple as well. But this kind of like wash on, wash off of character weights, right? Where you start with 0 in order to allow maximum creativity of the characters, like, shape, composition, all that stuff. It lets you bypass not having any character references that matches the pose of your character. It does mean you got to in-paint some details as you get into this, but it is important to utilize because it lets you do like really wacky stuff like this, like the interactions, the world, like the way that it, like what it chooses to keep is just enough for you to bring the character back in with a higher character weight as an in-paint. I like the idea of the Duolingo bird trying to steal the suitcase. That's a pretty funny idea. Okay, let's take a look. These are really rad. Okay, we got the jacket back in. Look at that. All right, so now we just pick which one. See, by doing it in chunks, we're not over committing to 1 or 2 poses or whatever. We're largely just saying, okay, we're only trying to fix key aspects of the design here. I really like the first one. I think with the hands splayed out like that, he's got a decent jacket on for that first. So yeah, we'll go with that. Boop. And now that we have like believable comic panels, right, all through here, this looks great. I think this is going to be really fun. First thing I'm going to do is just hit zoom out 2 times because it's going to preserve the character reference in there, blah, 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 blah. But we also want to try one where we set the character weight again to 0 so that we could see what it believes is around these panels, because that's how we're going to like basically, like, without actually showing any intent whatsoever, we are going to allow Midjourney to kind of, envision a comic with no story at first, and then allow us to inject a premise in there, or we can start off with that premise. Depending on the results of this, I tend to have a good idea of what sort of stuff I want to go for. Is it going to be like a combat sort of scene, or is it going to be an investigation, or like what is it going to be? That all just kind of comes down to your intent, like what sort of story you want to tell, right? So you can see here that with the character reference left at 90, the character still dominates the zoom out. Usually they'll take up an entire left or right side of the panel, and then you get something that is maybe workable, maybe not. Usually is not. Usually I don't need to have another high close-up of my character dominating the composition, right? It did some fun stuff with the hair in a couple places, but let's actually go and look at the one where we set the character weight to 0, which is down here. All right. Not that one. Where did it go? Not that. Where'd it go? There it is. Boom. Okay. So by setting the character weight to 0, we not only got a cool zombie version of him, right? We got the character jumping from a high height on the first panel here. This is incredible to me. And this just because we set the character weight to 0, okay? We didn't even give it a premise, and look what it did. There's a character jumping from a high ledge and then coming down to slam to the ground right here. Okay, so let's try to encourage this result even more. We could do very region, and then above this, I'm just going to select this kind of area here, and I'm going to replace the CREF and the character prompt entirely. We have to make sure we get rid of character weight as well. It'll yell you if you don't. So I'm going to write comic panels depicting a a jump from extreme height, motion lines, motion action lines, and fast movement. Sure. And it's going to probably delete a good amount of the bridge by doing this, but I want to see if I can encourage just the line work to show up so we can get like an intense movement out of this, because the more that it's portrayed inside of the prompt, the more likely you're going to get similar results moving forward. So yeah, does he have to learn Spanish to continue? Like that's Spanish or vanish. Okay. Okay. This here is just too damn funny. Good job. Good job. I love you guys. Okay, let's go ahead and check out what we got for the motion lines here. So we definitely didn't get the kind of like actiony lines that I was hoping for out of this. We might need to drop the styles for that, but that's okay. I just wanted to experiment a little bit, see if we got anything. Honestly, it's way easy to just draw 3 or 4 white lines for that. I wouldn't in-paint the motion lines. I just did that because I wanted to see what it would do. But what we can do now is we could take our favorite parts of this. We'll go back up here. We'll take our favorite parts of this and then don't in-paint those. Okay? So I'm going to say comic panels depicting the arrival of a villain. Why not? Let's just do that. And I know that it's the character that we have jumping down and stuff, but I want to just see what it does if it interprets a villain without having to actually reference an art at all. Like, is it going to creepily add someone else in here? What is it going to do? I don't have anything referenced for the character in here, so I'm basically just going to select a large area of everything that is quote unquote wrong. So you can see the comic panel ends here, so that's wrong. There's a bit of a building side here. I'm going to actually remove all of that, and we'll just run with this, and we'll see what we get. The arrival of a villain, and then let Midjourney decide what the villain looks like. I already know you guys picked the freaking Duolingo bird as the villain. Why is the April Fool's joke that Duolingo came out with now only becoming known? Like it's like they did like a Duolingo on Ice or whatever as like the April Fool's joke, and now it's all now the internet's just fall in love with this bird again. Okay, let's take a look at what we got here. This is with the very region with the monster approaches. Oh, okay, all right, we got a dragon. All right, let's go with this. This is probably going to be how D&D works when it comes to Midjourney, like interacting with this stuff, where it's like you roll basically an RNG generator of interactions, right? So we got this kind of like spiky haired, or like because it's looking at his hair and going, okay, that's similar, that's whatever. So now we have a dragon and him with the sword and the the suitcase, right? So if I keep expanding on this, it'll keep referencing this image here to be able to basically either by expanding out, we can keep seeing what the world looks like, right? So I know you guys are already doing that, so I'm gonna let you all do that. By the time we're done here, I'm gonna collect everything and then post it to my Discord as a like massive comic for you guys to fix, not to fix, but to make into something. So be sure to check that out when we're done here. But while you guys are zooming out and exploring what's around this comic, I am also going to run a very strong on it and just run it as is. I'm just curious what it gives us. But if I now double back to the CREF here, there we go. Grab this character reference.
So what did I miss? Like, you said there was a April Fool's owl thing from Duolingo?
Yeah, Duolingo did like a show on Ice or whatever. It was like a trailer for like a musical for Duolingo.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't really know anything about it in terms of the details of it, but it is funny to me too that only now, like only now are we are the April Fools, the corporate April Fools jokes starting to like become memes. At
Yeah,
least
that was like
happened to us.
11 days ago.
I know, right? All right. So just with the variation strong, by the way, comic panels depicting the arrival of a villain. Just with variation strong, we already got like basically the scene that I was kind of predicting. I was predicting a like the monsters showing up, right? Like this sort of like breaking through the wall. It's very, very cool. I really like these results. Look, it even got like the elongated neck. Like this is great. I love these results. So like if I now upres this one and is that the cuddle monster? Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, that's one of the characters from our Twitch stream. From Rhapsody actually. So now that I have this in here, I can just drop the character. Increase the character reference. Leave it at default, sure. And I'm just going to select everything that doesn't match the character anymore. And he's holding a suitcase, so hopefully if we encourage enough area around it, it also includes the suitcase. And then I'll make the hair a little bigger because it's spiky in a different way. And then just submit that. Oh, did I include 2 CRFs? Yes, I did. All right. There you go. And submit this. And now we're basically just going to replace all the parts of this. This is with a pan. You can see that they did a zoom out or a pan, and they included the, let's see, this is the Cuddle Monster. Yes, it is. So that's Rhapsody's Cuddle Monster. She actually hand drew the original for this, and the original actually looks really good. She did a great job drawing the original, and then ran it 2 or 3 times through Midjourney and got this. And it's like, it's one of those things where like the result of it is just so fun, so alike to what she drew. I'll share that a little later. But for now, let's see what our little in-paint did here. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Thank you for this. I'm a big fan of Arrested Development, so that's fun. All right, let's take a look at our in-paint here. So we kept the expression. I wanted to keep the expression, but I didn't realize he had a ponytail, so we'll probably get rid of the ponytail. But look, it gave the briefcase back in all of them. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and fix the ponytail here. And we could even make the expression back to more Franco-Belgian by including the face as well. Let's just do that. But if there's features that are not in the character reference, we do not want to write over that. So like his sword, for example, even though it's not a very good sword right now, we don't want to include that because it's not in the character reference. It's just going to delete it if we did that.
Poor Bob, I let him know that you were working with his character today, and he's stuck getting new tires right now, but he'll try to be here as soon as he can.
All good, all good. And I told him ahead of time that I was going to do this, so he could have scheduled around it, but he didn't. It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. I demand that you guys revolve your lives around me. Do it. All right. Let's take a look. We're almost done rendering this quick in paint with the face correction and the hair removed. Look at that. All right. Yep. It matches it on the third one, so let's go ahead and just up-res that. And that's how I make comics, y'all. I literally just keep going, and I find some fun thing that Midjourney does, and then dive deeper, just deeper and deeper and deeper until I've constructed enough panels to tell a story of some sort. And this is really fun. It is really fun to be able to just, whether it's hand drawn or it's, a generated character, you can use it as a character reference, and just, insert them. So if you have, for example, if you got a kid, right, who, has like a little original character that they drew, I recommend being a little older, like maybe old enough to be able to do a little bit of proper shading on the character. You can use that and then bring that in as a character reference. If you use like crayon art, like fridge art, like I'm talking like 3 to 5 year old art and stuff like that, you get some really interesting results. But I do worry a little bit about, when it comes to like childhood development and stuff around generative imagery. So like I think it's actually best to introduce it a little older and in a way that is not with them like directly interacting with it. It's more like a gift that you give them. I think is probably the healthiest way to approach that. I just don't want to see it become a crutch, right? For young creative people. Um, let's go ahead and see your all's comics now, because I've basically showed you guys. You guys are gonna insert the minion? No. It is gonna fight the Duolingo bird and minions. Like you guys can go nuts. I'll let you all have fun with that. But I want to see what some of the stuff you guys have been doing here. So I troll for you. Did a really cool expansion here. Look at this. Oh wow, that is so Franco-Belgian. Actually, he's about to punch that bird. Uh, and I wouldn't. I honestly, when it comes to like Tintin comics, they would 100% punch a bird. 100%. I don't think they have. I don't think they would feel bad about that at all. There you go. That's cool though. I do like it. Watching me play with MJ has encouraged my daughter to draw 400 times more than she did previously. Aw, that's cute. I do think that it is for some people it's going to be like a really wonderful gateway into creativity. You know what I mean? Like it is for me, right? No reason why it can't be for younger folks too. But I just want to be able to say like you may not always get a positive reaction, and that's okay. Like you just want to encourage whatever they want to do, but also challenge them in a way that makes it so that they get better, right? We are learning, we are adapting and changing things about what we're doing, and evolving as people by doing it. But it is important to recognize that there is a benefit to drawing traditionally. Oh, look at this! Oh, I love that. That's cool.
I definitely draw more than I did before.
Yeah. I think we all share Bay Rate's nib problem where our nibs are burning out quicker than they did before. Or maybe you bought a drawing tablet because you got into Midjourney, honestly. There's just a good number of people that I knew that never thought they could make art. And just by generating an image, you're not making art, in my opinion. But as soon as you transform it in a human way, even if you like are just curating panels, you're making art at that point. I will argue to high heaven that you are, because the parallel I tend to make for people, and this is probably the argument that's worked the best for me. I read it in the middle of a completely I'll be honest, the comment that I originally read this in was incoherent at the start and incoherent at the end, but they said something in the middle of it that I took away from it. And they said that a fallen leaf on the ground isn't art until I press it between glass, right? And I was like, that's what this is. Like, this is found media, right? We're not saying that it's art until we hang it on the wall, until we tell you that it's art. I would even argue that if you signed it, that's a form of transformation. But at the same time, I couldn't do that. I couldn't just take one of these images, sign it, and then post it online saying, "Hey, give me money," or give me attention. Either one. And why is he saying "whore" at the end here? He's almost "whore." It just yeah. Some of the words that Midjourney just shoves inside of these text bubbles makes me laugh real hard sometimes. But yeah, it's certainly true that but when it comes to that argument, I tend to do the press between glass of found media one, because it at least gives people the idea of like, you don't need to own a copyright on something in order to call it art. Like that's absurd. Brightshade said, I've been drawing since I was super young, but only over the last 2 years had I just given up on art because I'll never be as good as those 13-year-olds who can oil paint. Seeing a blank canvas gives me chills. Midjourney kind of helps me express myself since I feel too anxious to draw traditionally anymore. I'm 19 right now, but it's okay. All right. Let me tell you right now, Bright, because I am aware that there's a couple younger folks in the group here and stuff like that. I also have blank canvas dread. I absolutely get frustrated with a blank canvas. It is maddening to have too many options. And if you have constraints, it helps remove those options, right? So if we're talking about traditional art, that means that you are in probably a medium that you're going to pick that is your constraint, right? Pencils, charcoal, paint, watercolor, that kind of thing. That's already a constraint. You're already like, I'm not going to be able to make a rough black ink manga with watercolors, right? So like, you already know that you have some sort of direction you can lean towards when it comes to the medium. With generative imagery as a medium, it is something that we have to recognize as kind of like the medians of everything. So it's a median of some form of mediocrity, right? Where it's just kind of like bringing the centers of a bunch of different ideas, or between 2 points. But the reality is that if you steer it away from that, you're going to find something interesting. You're going to find something that inspires you. And I use my Midjourney images as the canvas. I draw over them, and I make it in a way that is unique to me and unique to my own like name and voice and all that stuff. Once you have identity and people can recognize that identity, it's a night and day difference when it comes to how people respect you or look at you and whatnot. Yeah, for sure. I would say that at 19, I would still be trying to find myself. I would still be trying to find what I really like, what I really don't like. I highly recommend, like, okay, let me put this here. Let me put it like this. People love stories by teenagers. They don't like listening to teenagers, right? So I recommend just absorbing everything and trying your best to just keep making things in whatever way you want to do, because you're still at an age that you want to be able to just keep absorbing things. I would try to just take your time and don't feel that pressure of just seeing some kid who's doing, like, by the way, that kid probably their parent drew it for them and they're lying about it for internet points. Like, just don't believe everything you see, okay? Especially nowadays. Wait, not everyone has blank canvas dread. I no, I know plenty of people that get super excited about having the initial sketch and then get extremely frustrated because they don't like the way they finish their art. They maybe this just some methodology that they have technique wise have ingrained in their head. They don't do anymore. Or like they get frustrated because it doesn't look as good as they imagined it would be. But as a finished product. So the sketch, like, there's a couple comics out there you could find of people going, oh my god, I love this sketch, and then when they do the line art or they do the outline, the strokes and stuff, it just looks like a derpy, child's art by comparison to their sketch. Very common. But those are the people that are the opposite of me. Like, I love having something that gives me a head start on making what I want to make. And Midjourney does that like crazy. I'll get into that with the Sage comics here a little later. Trixie says, I do fiber art, such as wall hangings, knittings, etc. My sister does too, but often finds that I have a complete creative block due to depression. But I want to use the creation of art to help battle that, and MJ is a perfect way to help plonk random ideas of random things that inspire you into some words and create something that you can use for inspiration for something physical. Right? You're 100% right. Probably the most common way traditional artists use Midjourney isn't actually a single generated pixel ending up inside of the final works that they do. They do it for inspo. They do it for the inspirational, imagery, or even just to get themselves out of a mental funk.
I would argue that that's a form of art therapy.
Yeah, I would too. I would want to. I think we want some therapists to give us we don't necessarily want it to make it like a dental ad where it's like 9 out of 10 dentists recommend. You know what I mean? But like, it is certainly true that I do think it's a form of art therapy, and it is a a very beneficial one at that, a very efficient one at that. There are people who are like truck drivers and people who have no relation to traditional arts at all that have told me like, I didn't realize this is what art therapy was. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just because they're not limited by that initial stroke on the canvas that makes them not, that discourages them from making art the rest of the piece or whatever. Midjourney, you don't have that problem. If anything, it goes too far. It adds too much complexity. It just brings you to a place that you may not expect too often. But
like with depression, there's a huge aspect of like not being able to feel anything or be inspired by anything, and I think that being able to find inspiration anywhere is epic.
Absolutely, and I'm very curious to see studies, particularly. I want to see studies on that subject because I see it. I mean, there's a good number of people that have reached out to me just going like, I didn't really have a purpose for using Midjourney. I was just kind of doing it to do something with my life. Like that's the state that they're in, and and I found not only joy but I found purpose because now I'm making comics. Now I'm like storytelling with it, and they've reached out to thank me for that. And it is something that is very heartwarming to hear that someone is able to kind of break out of depression because of something that I put out there. That is a wonderful thing. But I do want to emphasize this too, that like I think there's a positive feedback loop that I get through Midjourney here, where I don't really know about the full picture. So like if you guys have these experiences, I want to hear them. I want to be able to relate that to other people, particularly people who are strongly against AI imagery. Yeah, they're the ones that I think need to hear it the most. But also, like I'm also aware that there's oftentimes too much a crux on disability, particularly. So I think depression and art therapy is a much better route than say, oh, I don't have, I don't have mobility in my hands, so prompting's the only way I can make art. There's plenty of other ways to make art. You've probably seen a couple artists online sharing like a disabled woman who's painting with her feet and going like, oh yeah, I totally need AI to make art. And it's cherry picked kind of honestly like jackass examples that are given because it's just both sides using disabled people. And it to me, I don't like it. I don't like it when people do that because it's able-bodied people using imagery of disabled people to justify their views. And it's way better to just be like, it makes me happy. Stop, like stop it. Like it just makes me happy. I think that's a much more productive conversation. Mini Mint said, I believe that art and commercial sides are two different things. You're seeing art in a leaf. In a leaf, that's a gift. That's your gift. If you're able to sell it, it's another story. Let me sell you all these leaves that I picked up off the ground. I'm sure there's all sorts of tourist industries that are related to that. What is it? This chord, that chord said in reply to Brightshade, one of the secrets for someone fazed by a blank canvas is just randomly put a color on it, preferably something you can paint on. I remember seeing a YouTube video on an artist who made random shapes on his canvas with paint on tissue. Then he interpreted what he saw and made amazing artwork. Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with doing that with a single line as well. I mean, this is a very common cartooning technique. I'll just pull up my tablet here. You just hit new here, create a canvas really quick, and I'll just draw a random line, like just something like, oh, that's a color picker, like something like this, right? Just a little swirl that's here. And you start to just expand out what that could be, right? So like we have some kind of like snake character kind of swirling around, and like I'm obviously this is not going to be a work art, guys. I'm just messing around here to show you guys that oftentimes you can just work off of one random scribble and be able to be like, oh, okay, now I'm drawing snakes. I didn't plan on drawing snakes, but now I am. So like that kind of stuff is really like it's great for getting yourself out of like a bit of a funk. But I use generative imagery now for that, and it's so fun to do. Let's see here. I have so many ideas in my head, but not enough skill to actualize them. Yeah, the one kind of flip side to that bright side is that now that I have access to Midjourney, I feel like I just keep making more ideas. Like it's kind of like now the fire hose, right? Like it just kind of constant. It's I do wish sometimes that I had the ability to take a mental break. And I will say, I will admit, I've been encouraged to maybe start taking meds like my ADHD meds and stuff again. Because I'm just kind of obsessive about certain things. It would be kind of nice to be able to take mental breaks again. So maybe that's in my future too. But I just say that because there's just I sympathize so much with having so many ideas. I just tried last week drawing over a simple AI image. Keep at it. Your voice will come through. You're unique, and there's a place for your art. Oh yeah, of course. Let's see here. Midjourney is a great tool. Okay, let's take a look here. Celeste, I'm learning about art therapy at the moment, so I can send you some info if you need. Yes, please, Celeste. I would love for, especially like I said, any sort of official studies and stuff. I really need to know that because like it's a great rebuttal that we're gonna have later. Thank you for that. MJ made me realize how uncreative I really am, so I can't relate. Oh no. Drolinak. I will say that it's not about you being like uncreative. That's not true. You may believe it, but it's not true. The thing is that there is a how can I put this? There is a strong need for basically decorporatizing our brains. Like we need to start removing all the stupid branded characters and names and things, like to the point where we need to understand the raw like origins of things. I don't like we shouldn't be buying band-aids. We should be buying medical adhesive strips, things like that. Find the roots of things. Find out where things came from. And it's a lot easier to feel like something is yours when you're not prompting something that isn't yours. Okay? So like if you are like, okay, I want a superhero, and you keep prompting Superman or Spider-Man, that's going to feel a lot less like yours. It's going to feel a lot more like theirs because you're prompting for that. But if you are looking for like a heroic pose of a silhouette character in a cape, right? Now you're deconstructing the technical side of it, and you're making it into something that probably won't look like Spider-Man or Superman. Okay? So it's not necessarily about being uncreative. That's not true. It's about not having the language necessary to communicate your own vision, your own thoughts, your own creativity. That's a technical skill. It is not something that you just innately have. And I feel like a lot of people that, especially like folks that get upset at seeing 13-year-olds oil painting like masterpieces and stuff. The reality is that for those kids to be able to do that, it takes a certain like level of like dedication for their, either their parents are cracking the whip on them and making them paint every day, or it is something where they just like doing it, so they have no problem, constantly repeating it. I like playing video games. It made me good at playing video games. Like, but am I like top leaderboard of any game now? No, not at all. And it all just comes down to the fact that I just didn't keep up with it. You know what I mean? Like, and you probably shouldn't. There's a lot more productive things you could do with your life than play video games all day. Yeah, I just want to emphasize that like it's not your creativity, it's your vocabulary. Let's see here. Something about Denmark. I am having an exhibit, a small one with 20 watercolors. All of them have been inspired by watching people IRL, then taking the sketches and running them through Midjourney as SREFs and CREFs. Like, ooh, this is in Denmark, and I did not get any reaction. Yet Midjourney has a great inspiration for pose expression scenes, and I will keep doing it. Okay, all right. Well, I feel free to link it. We'll be curious to see more about it for sure. Let's see here. I troll for you. Here in my country, there was a social study by a college that actually let highly depressed people with very high anxiety describe what they felt in day-to-day life. They run it as a prompt in Midjourney, V3 at the time, and then they let the image they resonated with and showed it to their close friends and family. In short, it was to show them how they actually felt through the imagery art and let them see what and how they feel, what they normally can't describe to close ones. It's very interesting. Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, for sure. And whether or not, those same family members, that if they're not kind of encouraging art, like, are they really going to be that receptive to the art too? Like, I have my questions about that approach, but yes, I get it. That is fun, to see done in practice. Like, I obviously not fun subject wise. That's depressed and anxious people, but I just think that, like, I not getting proper mental health usually starts with the family. Mental health care. So yeah, it is maybe a good way to break that in for people. So that might be good anyway. Hey Boken, good to see you, buddy. All right. So I've gone through the questions here and statements here. I want to see from you guys what else you guys have been making. It hasn't stopped. I'm just gonna let this kind of slow scroll here for a second. I really do like some of the, like, look at these results here. Look at that. Yeah, we got some really fun stuff out of this. I am very curious to see you guys expanding on that. I'm gonna focus on the ones that you expand out, because there's a lot. The 4 panels are a little tougher for people to see on the streams. So, like, this is really neat though. Yeah, it's the end of the world, son. It's the end of the world, son. It's the Duolingo bird coming back. Nice. Awesome, guys. This is fun. Anytime you have characters falling from the sky, I think they're getting thrown into Phantasma. I'm just letting you know now that they look like they're just being thrown into a fantasy world, and they're just going to land on the ground just fine. Like Chris Rock and Dogma. I just watched Dogma with a friend of mine. And it's a great movie. I highly recommend it. It's Kevin Smith's best movie, in my opinion. And he doesn't really make good movies, so, like,
Dogma's your favorite?
Dogma is certainly my favorite Kevin.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the falling into Phantasm. It'd be cute if there was, like, a big pile of mattresses and something at the bottom.
Yeah, like we like all the wizards have just thrown the mattresses. Like,
yeah.
It center of the center of the castle. That'd be funny. Well, let me ask you this then, Kiki. What's your favorite Kevin Smith movie?
Oh, well, Clerks.
Oh, Clerks. Okay, yeah. So his OG, the original film. Yeah, that makes sense. The sequels, I'm not a big fan.
Mallrats. I gotta love Mallrats. Was
I like Mallrats. Yeah, I like Mallrats. I like the Silent Bob, Jay and Silent Bob movies too. They're pretty fun.
Yeah. But
it's been too long since I've seen them. They're probably way too raunchy for modern audiences, honestly. You got away with a lot more in the late 90s, early 2000s. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Why am I a pot? What?
Why am I not a pot?
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, with isolated pottery design. That's fun. Okay. Yeah, anytime you guys are like, I don't know what's going on with this duck dude, but it is quite entertaining to me to see where you guys are taking the more noir look of this. It's the idea.
The transition was really cool. It was actually like from a kid's drawing, and it's been becoming more and more realistic.
Oh, that's what this is up here, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So if we take a look at what the character reference is here. Yeah, awesome. So that's the crayon art here, And you could see that when they ran that as a character reference, they got results like this. And you could comic panels, expand them out, all that kind of stuff. Super cool. And just to kind of compare, look, it preserved the red beak on the top right there. The eyes are similar, if not just kind of instantly for a child, they would recognize that as, oh, okay, that's my duck. So that's really cool. Very, very cool. I do think that when you run this for kids, though, this is going to be one of those things where you got to be like, I'm giving it to you. I'm not letting you run this stuff yourself, just so they can really feel like it's special, because that's really where I feel like a lot of people are kind of struggling with this stuff, is that the value feels diminished because it comes out and so quickly, right? But the reality is that that value didn't change. It's still an inherent visual value to it. It's just a matter of whether or not it's how could I say, like, whether or not your intent of matches the expectation of what the person who's being given. So, like, for example, if you are going into an artist forum and there's all these paintings and things, like, for example, you go to like an art expo, right? You get a booth at an art expo. If you're using generative imagery and like you basically don't tell anyone, it's a form of like deception, right? Like you're basically like not disclosing what medium you use to bake it. And I think that in that scenario versus giving your child generated imagery, it's like a night and day difference. Like you're basically saying, all right, with the art expo, I even if I put banners up that said, look at all this generated imagery or whatever, people are just going to walk past you because you're basically telling them that there's no real value in it, at face value. But then as soon as you give it to your child, they can have complete value. They could be completely inspired and want to keep going with it. And it comes down to venues. You know what I mean? Like I'll move on from this subject. The buddy Christ. Yes, that's the best part of Dogma. And I love how it's the first like 30 seconds of the movie just like cuts into this. It's great. Alrighty, let's check out some of these comics. So I will say that there is a let's see what CREF this is. Okay, yes, it's just me right now. Thank you. There is a version of I don't it's not Victor. Okay, this is from Clutch. Okay, but Clutch has been going nuts with this character that has the black hair, protagonist hair, all that kind of stuff. But it's like it's more like a Shogun Fighter or Shonen Fighter version of like a Victor like character. But yeah, the amount of muscles on this is just insane. Like one of the reasons that I avoid doing that, by the way, is because I know the artist crowd. I know that they're going to basically be like anatomically break down where all those muscle structures should be, where the body form makes sense, where it doesn't make sense. When you talk about complex muscle structures, you're going to be inviting a lot more of that criticism because there is so much methodology around how the muscles are stretched across the body, and like you basically like you're tapping into a very, very established like art world thing. And my character is a little lanky stick because that's how I like to draw characters, is lanky sticks. So seeing this intimidates me because I'm like, oh no, if I were to use any of these or whatever, like I could easily misplace one muscle and then I'm made fun of by folks just because I don't have those skills. I don't have that knowledge. I can draw a Tim Burton, Jonan Vasquez-esque, stick figure-y character just fine. But you ask me to draw a weightlifter, oh man, it's gonna look awful. Like I have no idea where most of those muscles actually belong. It's just not my thing. It's just not my style. Come at me, bro. There you go. So, yeah, it is one of those things where, especially for like life drawing and stuff, I highly recommend not looking at generative imagery for that. There's a couple of examples that I really recommend people do not use generative imagery for. Historical reference is probably the biggest one, just because we're talking about, something that's just kind of merging a bunch of things together. It has no true intent to go, huh, that wouldn't have, a cell phone wouldn't have existed in the 16th century. I'll not include the cell phone. It has some element of that, obviously, but it's not guaranteed. It's not going to be like you had a historian review the image and go, yep, that doesn't belong here, that belongs here, blah, 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 blah. So there was a photogrammetry artist that recorded a church in like Norway or whatever, I forgot, some Nordic country. And they make sure they scan much more than just their subject. They scan the entire environment as much as they can, because native fauna and flora are incredibly important to get accurate for historical reasons. And if you're doing any historical preservation, if you reference some tree that doesn't belong in that biome or whatever, suddenly you just changed history, because the intent of what that person was doing was to preserve history. If you're telling a fantasy story, who cares? You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But if your intent is to basically preserve historical detail and be accurate about it, don't use generative imagery. You want to get real life references for that. Okay, so Mini Mint said, can I ask, why should you care whether other people see your work as art if they think the value is lower because of AI? If you think about it, are you going to be a copyist and not original? Am I wrong? Okay. A copist. I don't know if okay. Let me put this out there then. I personally don't care whether or not people consider it art or not. It is just something that, it's a word. It's something that people have a lot of attachment to. But the biggest thing for me is that it's more about why I'm talking to them at all. Why am I showing them it at all? If they can't see where the effort is and isn't, then it's more likely going to be that they will just continue to not be able to see that art unless you have a conversation with them. That's like, that kind of brings people more closer eye to eye on that stuff. That's why I personally don't care if people see my stuff as art or not, but I do care if people are able to see art or not, right? And right now, there is a significant swath, like I'm saying, like the vast majority of traditional artists, that because they can't see the original art anymore, they can't see the artwork, the human artistry that's in it anymore, they are just ditching the whole thing. They're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. You have this problem of where by doing so, they end up attacking people. They end up going after people for it. And so when I'm motivated for it is when it's basically to show them like, okay, yeah, you keep showing examples of frankly shitty consumer generated images and going, oh yeah, they picked the one off and they're calling that art. And then I show my work and I'm like, this took me 3 weeks to make, but you're using AI. How can you, how can you allow yourself to do that where your work is going to be instantly diminished because of it? And I'm like, that's temporary. That's entirely because you feel the same way about AI imagery as you would have felt about Photoshop back in the mid 90s. Okay. If you were a traditional saxophone, trumpist, whatever musician, and you saw electric music pop up, you would feel the same way. You would be like, this is fake. It's not made by a real instrument. there are way better parallels with EDM or electronic music in general than it is with Photoshop, frankly. We've talked about this a couple times before, but it essentially saying like just use electronic music as the example. My entire Beyond the Valley series was all talking about the era of digital music coming up. Season 2 will probably be focused on electronic music, so like the foundation of the digital music, foundation of everything artificial. It is important to be able to see, and I want to focus on a particular woman named Wendy Carlos because I feel like she is going to be fundamental to explaining the art theory behind generative imagery moving forward. Okay, let's see here. Art should be a hobby. I disagree. I disagree. Art should be whatever the hell you want it to be. Okay. If it's something where you're expressing yourself, if you're having fun and enjoying it, it's great. But if you are trying to make a living with it, if you're trying to succeed with it, I don't blame anyone for that at all. I mean, I'm doing it. Why would I? I just tried to look at it as much of as an outlet. If you attack someone for their outlet, you're a bad person. That's really what it is. Like it's I'm sorry, but like there is a handful of people who think of themselves as these white knight, like, you know, saviors of traditional artistry, like basically. And I'm like, you're just an asshole. That's all you are. Like you're just being an asshole to people because you feel like because you get sick of seeing your feeds clog up. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of frustrated, mostly unsuccessful parroting people who are successful. You know, like you go to Threads, Instagram Threads or whatever. You go to Threads, and all the people who are complaining about art are some of the worst at what they do, and it's just because it's easier to complain than it is to make art. Let's see. Celeste said, "Oh, lots of medical studies are popping up about AI and its impact on art therapy. I found these. Okay, cool. So you got some links for me. Awesome. I dig the medical journals, but there's also a lot of user experiences online like this. Okay, awesome. I'll definitely be digging into that. Let's see here. I don't see the point of the whole AI art debate. Art is artificial word without a concrete definition and meaning. Art is not objectively real. Yeah. I'll put it like this. I like this. I mean, it is objectively real. It exists. You know what I mean? Like there's a tangible thing that we're working with. Even when it's digital, it's still bits of data on a hard drive somewhere.
Even when it's not tangible, I feel like it's real when, you know, you could use storytelling. That's art.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's all sorts of things that kind of make it that make it real without having to be a physical thing either. I guess I get where you're coming from with that, right? But I guess the phrase that I would much rather that people lean on to is that, like, art doesn't have to be owned. It doesn't have to be a property. It doesn't, like, it probably the best shutout that I ever had, like, that I was able to get someone to just stop harassing another artist, was by telling them, do you believe that every image that has to be uploaded to Reddit needs a copyright? Like, we need to prove our copyright for every image. And they were like, no. Well, then so does that mean that every comic that gets uploaded here needs to have a copyright? Well, if you have an artist tag, you probably should. And I'm like, no, that's not true. There's in what wacky world do you live in where there is a moderation team that's able to basically do a background search on everything that's posted to know whether or not you're a real artist? This is ridiculous. And I mean, their retort was basically to call me a bad person, but like it was hilarious because that's the only thing they could do. It's if you are trying to argue or justify that something is only worth existing if it can hold a copyright, you're a copyright troll. You're not being a good person. You might as well be an IP lawyer at that point. Okay, let's see here. Minimint said, "Thank you very much. The printing press was another new technology, scarring the blank out of the church and writers, illustrators. Free speech came out of that." Yeah. I could get where you're coming around with that. And there's plenty of folks that use the Luddite argument in order to, to talk about printing presses and all that sort of stuff. Bayrate is one of them. I mean, he talked about how the calligraphers, the monks in the monasteries, were terrified of the printing press because it basically turned their job into a stamp, right? And the funny thing is that one of the things that they were arguing was going to disappear was comics because of the printing press. Because monks and scribes used to draw little doodles on the sides of the books they were writing, and they would usually be to mock whoever was like the priest or the lord of the region or whatever. There's one that I can pull up here actually. Let me grab it real quick, just a second. Where is this? Some really some good advice is that if you're trying to break out, you're trying to make things like, for more than just yourself, your family, or anything like that. I would be aware that I think probably the healthiest mindset to have is the audience doesn't exist. You're just yelling into the void every time. Even when you have a successful audience, I'm talking to you guys right now, and it's great. But the reality is that it's being transcribed into ones and zeros, bits and zero, whatever, and then getting to you guys. And it gives you some kind of comfort to be like, it's okay. Like when things turn off, it's not over. It's still going with or without you, kind of a thing. But let me link this here. So this is what the kind of stuff they thought. Oops, I hit inspect on that. Hold on. Oh no, it's breaking things. All right, there we go. So this comic here, which you guys are more than welcome to use as a style reference, by the way. It would be absolutely hilarious if you guys did. This is the kind of comics that were argued were going to go away because the printing press got invented. They are little teeny doodles of usually fantasy characters, doing things with usually making fun of somebody else. It's like the equivalent to of drawing a butt on your boss's face, right? That was what the monks were doing. So it's quite funny to me to see these similar arguments coming from comic artists, particularly. You know what I mean? Because it's like history's repeating itself in that regard. But if we can, let's just do that. Let's just do that as a style reference really quick. Grab this, put this over here, like that, and we can just say let's do a comic panels AR23, and then use that as a source reference for just a very very straightforward vertical panel in V6 and see what it does. I could guarantee if I ran that with Niji, there's gonna be some furries with this. Never played in the gallery, David Bowie. Yeah. Look at the lonely guy. Yeah. I think art is about actualizing the visions in your head, depicting stories, and nobody owns that. Creativity cannot be restricted. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, you're definitely going to be in a place where, well, mentally, you're going to be mentally a lot happier of a place if you are not making things to cater to random imaginary people in your head. Okay, you're going to do a lot better by having by making stuff that makes you happy. And that's one of the reasons why generative imagery is so scary for people, because they're like, okay, yeah, what makes you happy doesn't involve me anymore. You know what I mean? Like it talks to the bigger folks. That's what they're getting kind of, anxious about. But look what happened when we did this the old Renaissance comics through this. We actually got some really fun results out of that. So let's upres one of these. And now that we have this kind of dragony dude here, we got a result earlier that involved a dragon. So let's grab that dragon and use it as a character reference for this comic and see what it does. Okay, when I see this art though, when I see the children's drawing sketches art, it's amazing how much it's like, yes, the medium is there, but a child would never draw with accurate perspective like that. You know what I mean? Like yes, maybe a couple special kids can do that great, but it is the amount of finesse detail that's inside of like a single crayon stroke is amazing to me when I see Midjourney try to replicate that. It is always so interesting to me. But what I see with this is the Waddle Waddle Do You Got Any Grapes video. That's the only duck that I see when I see this children art. But let me grab this one right here. And screw it, we'll grab the Cuddle Monster too. Okay. So now with the Renaissance art here, I'm going to take this image here. We're going to do a variation subtle. And then add this as the character reference. Yes, it has two characters in it. Probably going to do some funky stuff with that. But we'll do that one. And then we'll grab the Cuddle Monster. And also do that one as a variation subtle. Character referencing actually works differently between Niji and V6. Heads up on that. If you're having trouble with one, try the other. Particularly if you're going for not realism, like not live action stuff, you might get some more reliable results using Niji. I'm kind of curious what happens if we use Niji on some of the old Renaissance art. It'd be funny to see like a full-blown Dragon Ball Z, but in Renaissance art. But let's check out first the Cuddle Dragon, or the Cuddle Monster here. And you could see that it's doing some really wacky stuff. Like it definitely put the Cuddle Monster in there, but now the Cuddle Monster is both characters, the dragon and the character on the bottom. And if we look at the other one here, where it had the boy in it, like it had the marketer, but also the dragon up top the dragon's in the image there. It actually did some pretty interesting stuff trying to combine the two. Like we definitely lose a lot of the Renaissance style and it replaces it with the style from the image. But it is really neat to see. I do like this. At least some of it. Not all of it. It's drawing, and then you used a source reference of duck and me. There you go. That's funny. Full-blown Dragon Ball Z in Renaissance art. Okay. I'll see what that comes out for you guys. That'll be fun. Portrait of Roman Emperor. Nice. Oh, look at that. Dragon Ball Z Renaissance art. Goku looks wrong. That's wrong. Why does he have a giant pineapple? This is probably the best Goku out of them all, though. I mean, it looks great, but it's definitely a bit odd. This is more like traditional Chinese art where there's a little more anthropomorphism in it. Yeah, pretty cool, but still weird. You're a bad person. You're a bad person. Yeah, there you go. Niji, for me, makes everything a horror character. Oh, that's interesting. Legal Beagle said, art as a word and a concept also has its roots in Greek technique, which means technique and technology. Okay. And is there a definition of art we can all agree on? If the answer is no, then there's no point to the whole AI versus conventional art debate. Yeah, that's a better. I would say that's definitely a better argument to make, for sure, for sure. um, yeah, okay. More Renaissance, yes, that's great. It's goofy. I like it. Well, this is pretty fun, guys. I'll say that from here. I wanna explore a little. Oh, look at the mosquito. It's like a bug, like literally like a spy. I could like see like whisper to the mosquito. Hey, I need you to my definition of art is just is. Yes, it just is. It's certainly true. Um, all these bugs come at me, bro, and I'm just like wobbling. I'm just like pop like just hopping to you, uh, inside the pot. That's funny. Um, I for an artist collab, which I won't be sharing here, but for an artist collab that I was doing, um, we had all of our legs get severed off because we make fun of the fact that none of or that so many comic book character, comic web, especially web comic characters, don't have legs. Like I don't have legs. I don't have legs right now. I can prove it to you. Look at my lack of legs. I got no legs. Um, the because of that, we were all joking about what do our legs go do? Like what are our legs doing right now? So we had this there's a movie where Robin Williams plays the King of the Moon called Baron Munchausen and The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Great movie. Absolutely love that movie. But the plot of that movie is that his head will just fly off and does its own thing. Like there's a good chunk of that movie that explains that the Robin Williams character just doesn't want to deal with bodily problems anymore. So he just disconnects his head and his body runs off and does things on its own. And I'm kind of reminded by that by saying by having the pot in the head jumping because the entire kind of collab that we did was all like, all right, what are our legs doing? So one of them was being a stripper, like literally pole dancing, and it was just a pair of legs on the pole. That was quite funny. Another one was what is it? Was was like one of the Poland ball, like kind of like government representation balls, just like I gave it a pair of legs, so now it just runs around. But my favorite has to be like the severed legs, and it's just Victor hopping with a torso like the pot there, and just trying to chase down his own legs. Um, that's the one that I thought was most funny. Okay, cool, awesome, awesome, awesome. Thanks for the class, Victor. Signing off. See you all next week for prompt battles. Yay! Yeah, definitely. Check out this. Kiki runs prompt battles every weekend.
Hey,
Yeah. Do you want to make a little announcement for that while I take a sippy here?
sure.
Awesome.
You guys are around on Saturday and Sunday. Every weekend we do prompt battles. That's a game where you get 10 minutes to prompt kind of the same thing as everybody else is prompting, but you do it your way. And when it's all over, we all put our pictures into a thing called a poll unit, and everyone votes securely and without judgment because we don't know who made what. And then whoever wins gets to choose the next prompt, and it's a free fast hour. And you don't have to win to get free fast hours. You can win just by hanging out and voting. But we hope you do play. It's a super wholesome environment. Every once in a while we say some weird stuff, but we are very nice people, and we like to help. And if you have questions about prompting, we could probably help you out with those too. And that's prompt battle.
Yeah. Yeah. That is something that I do recommend everyone here doing. It is a lot of fun. It's a great way to learn too. Alrighty, ready. So, let me break down a little bit from. No, let me just break down. So yeah, there you go. Awesome. There's your link if you want to follow Prompt Battles and be interested in it, and check it out for the Sunday edition. I'm gonna bring up one of my comics here really quick because I realize that there's a potential here for us to actually bring out a little more of the Franco-Belgian and a little less of the noir aspect of it. Because, like, for example, say like you're making comics, you're making imagery that you like, but it's starting to go in a direction you don't. It's maybe we want to avoid the noir darkness of these results. Introducing a new style reference will probably be the easiest way to do that. So you guys are more than welcome to do this. It's actually one of the reasons I upload everything for free. It's the fact that you can use any one of my comics as a reference, character reference, style reference, doesn't matter. You guys are more than free to do that. And, at least in the comment section for my most recent Sage comic that I released last week, there's a new one coming out on Monday, by the way. In the comment sections for that, I was really surprised that one, we got completely I only got 5% negative viewership on that. Awesome numbers for an AI generated comic, to be honest. But I'm going to link both of the pages here from that, because that means that you guys are more than welcome to use that commercially, whatever you guys want to do, it's fine. And the reason I say that and I make that distinct is because style referencing will do its best to avoid the subjects that it can, but at least the reality of it is that like everything on Midjourney has a paper trail, right? Like we know what images were used, we know what characters were used if you are using any of these links, right? So not only am I never gonna find out or whatever, or at least never gonna care whether or not you use it or not. I just want to emphasize that like it is something that if you want to go into this worry free and feel like you're really doing it right, instead of like prompting for Bill Watterson or anything like that, just use one of my comics, right? Assuming that the comics are within style of what you actually want to do. So let's go back up here and grab our character here. I'm not gonna. Hey, it's me with the duck again. Nice. I actually have this exact image. Okay, let me pull this up. This is a good derail. I promise this is a worthy derail. If you go to my website, gnarlycomics.com, okay, and you go to standalone comics, a lot of these are comic collabs that I've done with other artists, but they're also like they're also random replies that I've had to people. And I think it's in here. It should be. Yes. There you go. Let's just update this comic for V6. Okay. So I'll post this one here. I'm gonna have to do a snip because of the protections that I have on these images here, but copy this. We're going to update this comic really quick. So this is a single panel reply comic that I made. And if we come back into here and we do Very Region, that's my deck. Yeah. Okay, yes, and this is an incredibly accurate depiction of my cats. It is an accurate depiction of every cat that I've ever had, and I've had a good number of cats in my life. Okay, I really wanted to emphasize what it's like to have a gaggle of cats, or as I learned today, a kindle of cats is what you call multiple kittens, particularly. You're not the first person to say that, Celeste. That my cats tend to evoke other people's cats. I feel like a lot of people, especially, don't like to dog on their cats. If that makes sense, like they don't like to make fun of their cats. I make fun of my cats constantly. I throw them in the comics. I make them annoying. I make them like very frustrated with humans particularly. All because that's my experience with cats. Like
If I couldn't make fun of my cats, I would not have them. That's all I do. That's why they're here.
yeah, right.
I think there are
I'm
two
gonna
types of people. The ones that are like, "Oh, my cat's the boss, and he's the king of my house," and then there's me who's like, "Dude, you're such a dork. Get your butt out of my face."
Right. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot of it's a lot of making fun of my cats, like in the moment. The thing is I know they can't understand what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like I know that what I'm telling them is they can understand the tone of what I'm saying, but they're never gonna be like, what, you know, like why is he using such violent language or whatever? And it's like, it's just but I'm saying it in a cute voice, so it makes my wife laugh when I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna get you. Oh, I'm gonna, you know, like I'm not gonna say anyone because I know somebody is gonna be able to take that audio and warp it to say something else, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. But let's do. He's pointing at a duck, and then submit that with a cref. If we do not get the result that we want, very easy. You just come in here and then delete the character reference because that character reference doesn't feature him pointing at the duck at all. But because we have this as a previous comic as well, I could just grab that image and then use that as the source, as the character reference as well, you know? So we'll try all three and we'll just let that go. And then you guys will see what happens when we start merging comics together, particularly the Marketer and the Sage comics. So, look at that painting. That's pretty fun. Very Bob Ross of me. Come at me, bro. This is great. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at the results. Got to kind of zoom past all these pots here. Oh my god, there's so much. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to span through these real quick. Okay. All right. Let's see which one was the most successful. Okay. So this is the one with the character reference of the original comic, right? In all three of them, I'm not actually pointing at the duck, but it's also because I'm not giving a lot of room for the hand to twist down and point to the duck. This one I think has a little bit better anatomy because it's not trying to force within that one comic image, right? You notice that the thumb is kind of collapsed in on all four of these, but on this one, there's a little more variety in the hand, so that's a better result, is to combine all the Victor references for this particular image, and then to not write anything at all, like we said, to not write any character reference at all. We actually got the closest to pointing at the duck, right? That's the first one, but and we also got a lot of different dynamics of the pose of the hand, right? So I would say it's either going to be this one or it's going to be this second one here. Let's compare the two. And this is where I start to go, it is not worth it for me to highlight the hand. That the hand's a little anatomically weird here. So let's go for this one. I could up-res this, but I'm just going to demo it with something else instead. So let's get rid of these. Okay. And then what we're gonna do is just do a little quick edit, and then I'll answer some questions. So I'm gonna pop over to the tablet here. We have this image. Let me just open that up. Okay, we have this image. It's just a low res, thing just for demo. I'm just showing you guys this really quick. If I need to make an edit, I'll use Photoshop Beta because it lets me just quickly use the new AI tools that they have to highlight and select things. Like you see, it's like instantly highlighting over the duck, over Victor, but I just need the hand here. So I highlighted the hand, and what we can do is we can use the manipulation tools, all that kind of stuff. But I just like to like copy, then paste over, and then do a transform. We kind of pick this up like this here, something like that. And then I'm going to use, let's actually grab the arm as well as a separate asset. Hold on. Let me turn off this hand here. Okay. So now I have the arm as a separate asset. Copy, paste that. And you could see that as long as I kind of hold the two together, I can like bend them like this, right? And kind of bring it a little farther in. Something like that. And then put the finger down a little more here. Boom. Something like that. And then drag that out so it doesn't overlap the duck very much. And then I'll use Gen Fill behind it just to very quickly come in here and remove the hand from behind it. Anatomically, doesn't make much sense yet. You'll see what I'm going to do to fix that here in just a minute. So I'll cycle through my options here. That one's pretty good. And you can see with this hand, it doesn't really make anatomically a lot of sense because your wrist wouldn't bend like that. There has to be some torque to your wrist. It would be more like down here or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make sure I'm on the top layer here. And I'm actually going to highlight over everything that's wrong and try to preserve what's right about it. So like this here. Let's go for that. And then I'm just going to Gen Fill it. And what should happen is it tries to contort the wrist and make things make sense. And it very well may not, and we have to move the hand again. But you can see it took away a good chunk of that elbow, that bend that's here, and then basically brought it a little closer to Victor here. Very rough. I'm not really going to focus too much on this image. I just wanted to show you guys how you can use Gen Fill to like manipulate the background of the image in order to like move the foreground around. So I use this a lot actually. Okay. So Drolanak asks, let me move up here. Okay. Drolanak asks, how did you make her taking her tie off? Seems tricky. Okay. So the way I did that was I prompted for Sage without the tie, right? I went into Photoshop, I removed her tie, and then asked her to hold the tie instead. And that way, like, it basically, I'm just saying, hey, you're holding the tie. You don't have to draw that on her, and that also made her button up kind of loosen up a little bit. But when it comes to the actual dangling of the tie, right, where she's like holding it above and stuff like that, I did manipulate that image a bit to conform to the what is it, to the exact position that she's in, because I need to create a silhouette that people can instantly recognize or see on their cell phones. And by default, it was hiding kind of in the background of the painted background, and I moved her a little bit to the left and a little forward in order to make it so that the door frame is actually silhouetting the end of the tie, so everyone's focusing at the tie. The result of that actually comes off of a mirror prompt. I'll pull it up here so that you guys can see. In my Discord, there is a in production section specifically for the Sage comics, and I'm going to pull up the one with the tie. Okay, there you go. So this was the raw result for the comic you see on the left side of your screen here. Okay? At least one of them. And you can see what I'm taking advantage here is of prompts that involve mirrors, particularly. The next comic is going to take that to a whole new level, guys. Really exciting, actually. But what I'm going to do is I am going to send that here. I'm going to send this prompt to you guys so that you all can have your fun with it. I'll use /show to do that. So I'm going to copy the job ID. And then we are going to go to VC Create and scroll all the way down to the bottom. Get rid of this, whatever I was typing there. I completely forgot what I was prompting for. It's okay. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to use /show and take my job ID, which is also in the URLs, by the way. You can find your job ID in a couple of different ways. Here is the result of the last, the third to last and the last panels of the most recent comic. And this is essentially how I got there. I have my 2 CREFs of Sage at work, and then the SREF here, and the SREF is based off of just a single panel of one of my comics. So depending on the results that you're looking for, you can get single or not. With this one, it looks like I did not remove the tie yet. I think that was one of the things that I experimented with. Yeah, okay, yeah. So I merged these 2 images of Sage together. There are differences between these 2 images, particularly on line weight. You'll notice her line weight is much more even in this image. This is actually her core CREF. This is the one that if you guys want to make Sage comics, you use this image. And then this one here was the original one that I was messing with just before CREF came out. And I'll just say right now, in my experience, this one creates far more dynamic shots, like far more like interesting compositions and stuff. But this will create more of a cartoony, more like the Sagittarius comic, where she is more chibi, will come off of this one. So by combining the 2, we get some kind of fun middle ground between the 2. And you notice I never even mention the tie. Comic panel depicting her arguing with her 3 cats, because I had earlier done the tie stuff, and I don't really have that easily accessible for me. But let's go ahead and expand on this one a little bit so you guys can see. And then this, we discussed that already. Okay, let's go ahead and expand on this. So I'll do a custom zoom. We're going to try to make some comics out of this, in a very similar style to the way I made the one that I linked earlier. So I'm using style raw, and that's just to give us a little less diversity, a little less randomness of like complexity, particularly. And let's do a zoom of 1, and then switch the aspect ratio to 2:5. And the reason why we're doing this is because we're basically forcing the canvas to expand without losing any of the reference information that's in the middle. At this point, I would heavily recommend deleting the character reference, or dropping it to 0 with a less effect of what I'm going to do. You'll see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to delete it because I don't want any influence from Sage in here. I just want to see the rest of her apartment. I just want to see the rest of the space that she's in. But you guys are going to notice something here. What I chose to keep and what I didn't. Okay? Take a look at the comic. And then compare this result here. You'll notice that I only used her as an asset on the right side. On the left side, I have the room that she's in. But I did use a portion of that room to evoke the camera as being pushed in, that we are slowly zooming in to Sage there. That's kind of the subconscious thing I'm evoking to people, is that the camera is being moved slightly closer to her, even though the background isn't moving much at all. And this is supposed to have basically make a Zolly-like effect. A Zolly being where you zoom and dolly, or you move the camera while zooming. I wanted to create a similar effect, and it really works for comics. Like it's very few people get upset about weird perspective shifts like that. So I really do enjoy taking parts of the comic, using them as assets, and then reusing the backgrounds in order to make them move in the space. So that's important. That's like tip number 1 there. See, inpainted Victor into her. That's hilarious. Okay. But off of the comic expansions, it's keep in mind the prompt itself is comic panels depicting her arguing with her 3 cats. This is a very common response that I got, was just her super angry, yelling at cats. Like these cats look awful too. Like there's some wackiness with these cats, but you could see that it's still evoking the same style reference, where there's a window behind the character, and the cats are kind of these small creatures that stand behind her feet. It's removing the subject matter and just seeing the composition, seeing how it works with line art and lighting in general, and like blah blah blah. So by basically saying, hey, let's just take this first one here. Let's do a spin on this. I haven't revealed this yet with the comics, but Vicky doesn't like cats. Okay, I love cats, but Vicky is my opposite. She's not only my gender opposite, but she's also my opposite. Like she doesn't have any pets. She doesn't like cats. If she does like any animals, it's a dog, because a dog is a lot less like it. She doesn't realize the benefits of a cat at all. Because she's not like me. And so I want to have a scene where eventually Sage throws her cats at Vicky. Like I want her to be the angry cat lady from The Simpsons, right? And in order to kind of fulfill a little bit of that, we can actually just do a variation subtle of this image here, right? Where we have 3 clear panels and a composition that makes sense for this concept. I'm going to do a variation subtle and then add a C-ref for Vicky. And if you're new here and you're wondering, how am I just writing Vicky and getting a character that I know, is because we're using something called /prefer. And this is very easy to do. With character referencing, now you only need 1 image, right? So you can save a single URL as a /prefer. I troll for you, by the way. Whatever you're doing with this Victor here is super fun. I love how sassy he is here. But what I want to show though is /prefer. Go to options set, make up a name for your character. You can see I got a bunch here: Cowboy Vic, Ancient, Mona, Avant. There's a whole bunch of characters that are here that we've saved. But you just make up a name. So let's get one saved for the for our dude here, the marketer. So I'm gonna scroll up real far because I know you guys love prompting with Victor because you get a response out of me, but I want to focus on Bob's Blaze character real quick. I'll just scroll up to. I just saw all the links. Hold on. It's me. Hold on. Almost there. All right, I'm scrolling up even more. Let's just go all the way. Let's see, is this the character? Yes. Okay, cool. So I will take all the links from this, and we're gonna name him. We'll just name him Lazy because this is Lazy Marketer. I forgot his actual name, but we'll just go with Lazy for the name, and then paste all those URLs. As long as they are Midjourney links, they say mj.run on them, you're going to be fine. Because Discord does now have an expiration date on their own images. So now that we have that saved, the only thing I have to do to pull up that character again is just do --, Lazy, and then submit. Nice. 2 girls kissing from the 18th century. I like it. There you go. All right. So now let's take a look at the Vicky one here. So with variation subtle and Vicky at default value, we get a girl with big glasses interacting with the cats. And she's not necessarily yelling, or I think none of her character references feature her yelling like this. Like, she is down here. Sure, we could probably use that. But I want to emphasize really quick difference of using a low character weight again versus using like a higher character weight, because it really does help to allow for that creative freedom, and then you just re-inject the parts that you want. You can go without a slightly higher number and be able to get like like a good result out of that too. But at least in my opinion, I try to go for as low as possible because I want to see just how wild things can get. Look at this. I love some of these angles. Just word expansion only. There's no images attached to this. It's just looking at these initial images, and then going, okay, this is what I believe should come before or after this or whatever. It's I call it predictive, but it's not really. It's just math. Let's see here. Okay, so we have our character here now because we saved it as a slash prefer, and it just injected the links there. There you go. It's super easy to use slash prefer to get the at the very least save you some time from saving a bunch of links and all that kind of stuff. You'd see when I dropped the character reference to 0 on Vicky here though. We got some really great like expressions. Her hands make sense in almost all of them. And there's just a general sort of like, yeah, and whatever's off, we just replace with it in paint, to get it right. Alrighty, there you go for that. And oh, look at this. And then you do a variation subtle like I troll for you did here of Sage, and she's now interacting with those cats again. And it's not perfect. You want to go panel by panel by panel here, and really make it like as soon as one works for you, like you're like, oh, this is really great. Then just build off of that. I really like her hand here about to grab this cat. So like if you focus on that one image here. Okay. You see, if I just like the performance of something, I usually will just lean the rest of the entire comic result off of that premise, right? So like she looks like she's like trying to like, grab the cat by the cuff and he notices, right? So we can just vary region. And I'll make sure I leave a little bit of a gap. I know it's kind of hard with how small the screen is here, but I'm going to leave like the tiniest gap in between these two panels here. Kind of evoke that I want two separate results here. But we're going to do comic panels depicting a cat, a black cat, escaping her grasp. We'll just run it off of that, and we'll see what we get. There's also let's see. Yeah, it's just a matter of finding the balances that you like. In terms of like codes and stuff like that, I've been using style reference variation 2 a lot. So I know this adds yet another code for you guys to mess with. But SV lets you be able to try out different variations of the style command, or the style parameter. So yeah, it's pretty neat to kind of be like, okay, I like this, but what does it look like slightly different, slightly changed, or whatever. And you can see that I tried to separate those two panels, and it was too close. It just merged them all into one panel here. But we did get Sage back, so it would be easy to now, move around in Paint with this without ever actually referencing to her again. And it's in there. Okay, and are you working with the Phantasma style reference here? It kind of looks like it. Yes, you are. Awesome. That gives me a good little transition here to talk about that. Okay. So Phantasma is a fantasy story that me and my friends and you guys are all working on together. We are essentially going to be coming out with a pilot. There'll be 2 comics initially. The first 2 episodes will be comics. And then we're going to try to actually get it animated, which is going to be nuts. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not making any promises. I just am super excited to be able to be in a shared world with you guys. And that shared world is Phantasma, which may not look very interesting here, but there's a lot of potential inside of this image here. This is a heavily crafted style reference sheet Not only does it include the 3 panels to represent a comic, but those 3 panels have been heavily cleaned up to the point where everything has a very particular intent. Especially the 3rd panel being slightly blurry on the bottom creates a strong depth of field. All the muted colors, like all the muted palette that's in here, creates a world that's unified in its approach to a particularly like high contrast. Like basically, if you have a high contrast element in your imagery, it's most likely going to be something really important, like magic, right? Instead of it being a cluster or whatever, a quagmire of random potential hues and values, by limiting it to this one style reference, we now have a concrete world that we can all, prompt in. And so whatever you end up using with this as a style reference, you get results that are like this, where it's these lineless, frankly gorgeous pieces that lets the light invade in a way that seems like there's always kind of a tower, or there's always something hovering or looming over the characters. And that's pretty important when we're talking about a sense of scale. So I will pull this up from my Discord, the Story Nexus. But I have a official poster that for the Phantasma series here. And I mean, you guys freaking love this poster. The reactions on it are just huge. Let me just take a screen cap of that really quick for you guys. This is probably the most number of reactions I ever got on a post on my own personal Discord. But look at this. It's so this is the arrival of Phantasma. And the cool thing about this image is that it's been curated. Like it features not only the the style reference from Phantasma, but more importantly, it shows a level of intent that Midjourney, as close as we got with this, which the original from Midjourney was basically a floating orb above the city. I in-painted the city, like the castle itself, using the Phantasma source reference, so style reference. I used the light, I prompted lightning on its own, and then chose specific results that evoked it striking the top of the castle constantly. All this is heavily curated artistry, and it's just so neat to be able to bring that all together here for you guys, and seeing this all in one shared world is just super, super neat. I love being able to have us just make characters together. I mean, look at this. I like her hand right there, about to grab this cat. Look at that. There's a cat, pretty girl. Yes, this is awesome. You even get a POV shot of the cat in Phantasma. So if you want to do a slice of life story in our fantasy story about what a cat does inside of Phantasma, that will be part of the world just because you're doing it. And the way that this works is okay. Yes. Thank you for adding Family Guy characters to Phantasma. Okay. But before I get derailed, the way this works is you can join my Discord. If you don't mind linking that, Kiki, that'd be great. But if you join my Discord, you're going to notice on the left side here, we have 2 different forums. We have the Story Nexus, which gives you all the official materials. So we can check out Phantasma here. We can check out Gnome, which is one of our main stars for the series. And then some of the background characters as well, like the Gnome and Guard, and some of the locations, the Blob, and like various other characters that we are all working on together. And in the Valley as well. And these are all locations, characters, and references for you to be able to stay within style of a singular project. So you could take these materials and then submit an original character, an environment, whatever you want to do, to the Chaos Portal. And you don't have to do fantasy here. Like, for example, like this is Slice of Life Sage. Like, this is their Cozy Sage, which I'll be revealing on Monday. Cozy Sage is basically meant to be a live at home relaxed version of her that is not constantly manic and full of coffee and everything else like that. This is a very, if you guys are going to be, I think you're going to have a welcome surprise with the new Sage approach. But it shows you that you can submit here and then see other people take your characters and start developing them. So I troll for you. Like I said, this guy's awesome. He's been exploring different style references with this character Akira here, which is a great style. It reminds me a lot of Has Been Hotel. Just a rougher, edgier version of it, which is frankly more fun than that show is. But if we look at, like, they submitted all their character prompts with the character sheet of a bunch of poses from their character, and the reaction they got back was just a bunch of like user submitted combinations of characters like interacting with each other, right? There's the Cuddle Monster and her and his character, all just kind of doing their thing. But I'm excited to show you guys this though, which is that you have now a Chaos Portal entry for Sage's cats individually. They all have their own characters now. So I will post all those inside of VC Create for you guys. Let me do this way. I'll pull it up on my personal here so that I can more easily copy and paste it. Okay. Hop back over to Midjourney here. I'm gonna go to VC Create and I'm gonna give you guys the cats. Hey, look, it's Sage and Phantasma. Nice. And you notice, yeah, with the character reference set to 0, suddenly she's wearing appropriate garb. She's a little more fantasy themed, like that kind of thing. All because you dropped the character reference. But I'm going to include all 3 of her cats here. Got 1. Oh, that's Coast. Because she has 3 cats. She has a black cat who is specifically prompted as cute black cat, and the reason why cute comes up is because he's the affectionate, overly clingy one. His name is Fidget. We have Pele, who is the big dumb white cat. Literally is a lummox, like it's a cat that like doesn't recognize that he's getting in the way. He's a bit of a dummy. And I would have gone with orange, but I never owned an orange cat, so I don't want to. I don't know. I'm a little particular about that. And then Gray Cat is Thumper, who's the asshole. He's the one who is very bossy, demanding. Tells us what to do, that kind of thing. All 3 of these cats are based off of real cats. It is something that I'm.
I feel like that's the trio that everybody who has 3 cats has. Honestly, it's right? Like I have the same trio.
Yes, and that's one of the things that I'm so like eager to. Maybe one of the reasons why people relate to them so much is because I did run this all through Midjourney, which Midjourney is going to find the median of like many things. Mm-hmm. So when I asked for 3 cats, it gave me a grayscale of these 3 cats, but that's the personality that I attributed to them. Now my cats, I never owned a white cat either, but it's just he looks like he's like the white cat especially just looks like he's gonna be eating too much food, lazy, sleeping around, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm leaning into that quite a lot with these characters. And because as long as you reference them as a cat, they're gonna be a cat. It's gonna be fun. But if you don't reference them as a cat, that's when things get interesting. Like let's for example take the black cat here. And then remember, I have a character reference of the cat. So I'm going to say tuxedo. And it should give us a person like that face, but wearing a proper tuxedo, which if you are going back to one of my older comics, that black cat is a tuxedo cat. He wears a tuxedo in one of the comics. So now I can just very easily pump out these outfits, these realistic poses for these animals, which is really great if you're doing like anthropomorphic stuff, or you're doing, just some odd, joke involving having to put a realistic hand to grip, or give your cat thumbs or whatever. You can do that by essentially going, okay, yes, Like, here's a tuxedo. So yes, we have a humanoid pose. It's really kind of awkward and weird. But now I'm just going to drop the character reference down. I'll do 0, but usually with the anthropomorphic stuff, you probably want to go closer to like 20. And yeah, very cool. And you can see that as you explore Phantasma, you're just going to get some really awesome fantasy scenes. It is quite easy to just like you did here. I troll for you, just an evil warlock. You got the whole downward angle, like this whole foggy tentacle guy here is 100% the kind of results you can expect from the Phantasma style reference. So yeah, you should try joining. It'd be great. I would love to see more characters inside of the portal there. But see, dropping the character reference to 0, yeah, he just threw the cat head on him. Okay, so yeah, it is quite handy, especially for doing jokes that involve anthropomorphic characters. It's really funny to just be like, yeah, there you go. Okay, well, I'll say this. It's 6:30 right now for me. Anyway, I don't know where you're at in the world. I'm I'm kind of rounding out at least a little bit of the stuff from my week. I know that with my anniversary next week, I will not be in this coming Friday. So be sure to keep up with me through the Discord. Don't forget about me. I want to be able to figure out some new themes though for the show, because we have character referencing is such a big thing for what we do as storytelling and everything else. I want to know from you guys what sort of results do you want? What sort of content do you guys want to see me doing? I want to be able to make stuff with you guys that you guys actually want. Like we can keep talking about characters, we can keep exploring specific spaces, specific prompts, and all that kind of stuff. But if there's anything else that you guys want to really see us dig into, let's do it. You can let me know through the Discord, through here, whatever you want to do. You can just let me know, and we'll take that in and go from there. Eventually, all the Phantasma stuff's going to end up being this series that follows 3 different characters. And those 3 characters, you'll be able to hop into the comics like an interactive thing. It's going to be really fun. I might take a while. It might take till summer before we can get the first pilot out. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It's good to see you, Jolinak. Thank you so much for coming by. It was a lot of fun having you here. All right. Well, I guess from here, guys, I would say that we should probably dig through some of the results that you guys have made, because you guys make a lot of really cool stuff, and I'm excited to see it all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through some of these, and we're just going to kind of soak it in real quick. I really should do a zoom in of this, actually. Like I should try to figure out how to do that as a full screen here. Let's do that real quick. I'm going to drag this down to here, and I'll bring it up the tablet here. That's a good way to do it. I think so anyway. No, we'll go back to the old way, because now everything's squished and wrong. I shouldn't try to do things on the fly like this. There you go. Okay. But I love these kind of like king characters and everything else that that have been coming out from Phantasma here. It's super neat. Well, what was your... Okay, so it's just Evil King, long black hair, silver crown. Nice. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through these. Oh, yeah, by the way, Tiefling. Tieflings work great in Phantasma. If you really want to see some cute I shouldn't keep going with that joke. It's quite funny to me, but I'll reference it in the comic later. How about that? But look at this. Look at this Sage, like Legal Beagle has a version of Sage called Sage the Mage that they come up with. But that doesn't use any of the most common newest Sage stuff. It like this stuff looks great. It like instantly recognizes I can instantly recognize her. And the reason why is because of the banana bangs, as I call them. She has these bangs that kind of curve inward like bananas that are hanging on the bunch. That's how you can instantly know whether or not you were successful at grabbing Sage as a source or style. Or sorry, I can't speak today. A character reference. Just because you are able to see those two bangs kind of curving inward a bit. You could like on the bottom right here. I want to up-res that actually. Yeah, I love what you guys are doing here. I'm going to scroll through these, and I'll be back in a minute as I grab a drink, and see you guys. See you guys in just a minute. Feel free to interject anything, Kinky.
Oh yeah.
I'll be right
I'm
back.
here. I'm observing the pictures that everyone's made. They're really cool. Oh, the cat. And then there's Quagmire. I wish it was easier to see things here on Discord. But we're doing our best, you know? Hey, there's my Reddit alien telling Victor that he's a bad person. I don't know why it took so much work to do it, but it did. So you'll be seeing a lot of him. Did you know that his name is Snoo? He's the Reddit alien. What?
I did know that
You did?
Yeah.
I like to use...
for many years.
Yeah, same. I like to use Snoo as my average Redditor whenever I'm having an argument with one. Like, I once drew a picture of like a guy, the character that was in a different community that I was in, like running, and there were a bunch of Snoos in the background with pitchforks and fire. So you got attacked on Reddit.
I don't know if I've shared it before, but the icon we have for the Reddit moderator group DM is a
Let's
combination of the Midjourney logo and the Snoo logo.
That's amazing. That
was just an image prompt of the two together.
I'm instantly getting like millions of ideas of how to C-ref that. That could be like an emoji. I don't know. Whenever we talk about Reddit. Huh?
I'd have to go back and find the original. I think it was in like V4.
Oh, okay. I love it. And it's funny because like actually like all the pots are original, really.
Yeah.
Like
And
the ears are just turned in a different
really
direction. Yeah. If you took that thing apart, you could make yourself a Snoo. Still. I love the colors of Phantasma. It's really pretty.
Yeah. I was trying out a couple of different character options with the Phantasma SRF.
As an SRF?
Yeah.
For the character, like were you designing the character with Phantasma as the SRF, or were you
Oh no, I was just doing some character design stuff and then seeing what happened if I threw the SRF on.
Very cool, very cool. Looks
All
like
right,
he's back. He's back.
Yeah.
Here he is. I'll get off your microphone.
I'm definitely curious about the stuff Ancient's getting into with Phantasma. I want to see more for sure.
I mean, you've seen some of it. Most of it, actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, more to come. More to come then.
I should share one of the weird hand ones.
I do like anything that one of the things I really like about the style reference for Phantasma is how much it adds that sort of like blurred scaling, so we can easily make characters looming over each other, which is like super important because we're focusing on Gnome for a good chunk of it. So yeah, it'll be fun to see like your most recent version of the character. It seems like a bit shorter, but younger than the others. So adding that sense of scale to them too is gonna be fun. Well, from here, I want to as I'm gonna start closing things out here, but I want to be able to say for you guys, particularly, like I want to give you guys something, um, just to kind of part with, because I know that I'll be gone this coming Friday. It's my 20th anniversary, and it's I met my wife at 16 years old. I was going to a battle of the bands, um, and I wore these pink fishnets underneath my pants. Okay, this is an important detail, I promise. I wore these pink fishnets, and it was the battle of the bands, and my friend's band came up, and we were doing like kind of cringy, moshy stuff in the crowd, and my pants ripped in half, revealing my pink fishnets. I was wearing skinny jeans. This was, oh man, like 20 years ago. So 2004. This was 2004. So whatever bands were popular at that time, you get an idea of the music, okay? Um, my 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 wife uh saw me, and I see this girl have this big giggle fit in the corner of the room, right? and I instantly was like, I'm just gonna recover from this by not addressing my fishnets at all. Like just walk up to her, and I don't even remember exactly what I said, but I remember something. I remember it was something along the lines of like, um oh, this is just how I normally wear them, or whatever, like just some little shitty joke or something. And she giggled more, and that's the thing, was that like I didn't get her number. I didn't get any information. I only knew her name. And then almost a whole year later, I go to a like a local band show at a YMCA, and there she is. She had these glowing gold hair that that you guys are now all very familiar with, because Sage is based off of my wife. So like it basically, like everything that I was like, this is what I try to evoke whenever I'm prompting for Sage stuff. So it is super fun for me to see you guys messing around with that, because it's like that's my little personal lore, my little head canon. And yeah, it's been 20 years, guys. It's so long. It's quite long. And I'm just happy that I'll be able to take some time, that the guys here, you know, let me take that week off to be able to appreciate those 20 years. So I obviously hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend and everything coming up. You're welcome to join our Discord and make stuff with us. Well, even while I am surely going to end up prompting things through the week too, just because I'm into all this stuff still. I can't really detach myself entirely, but um, it is something that I hope you guys are able to create that kind of personal connection with your work. It's something that I realize that not even all the artists really have, like the other comic artists that submit online, that they're longing for that sort of connection with their own work. And so finding that with generative imagery is totally fine. Finding that with traditional art is totally fine. I just really want you to find something that really speaks to you, that speaks to what you want to do and your intent. Um, because you have a lot more power now with this stuff than you ever did before. Even if you feel like you're not getting any viewership because you're being honest about what you do and how you make it, you still have a lot more capability than you had before. So Scroll up, Victor. Okay, what is this? Happy anniversary, Victor. Victor and his wife, you're a great person. Aw. Thank you so much, Kinky. I really appreciate that. That's very sweet of you.
I spent the
thank
whole
you.
stream trying to make something that said you were a bad person. So
No, you're
I
good.
think you're a great person.
No, thank you so much for that. That's cute. It just I just want you guys to be able to feel that same sort of connection, and comics are a great way to, because it merges so many things together. It merges storytelling, visual art, cartooning, everything. Everything is kind of all mashed together with the idea of a comic, and that's the entire reason that I'm able to submit things online to a subreddit like r Comics, because they understand that. They understand that you can use a you know you can use clip art and make a comic. You didn't make any piece of that art, but it's still a comic, still your comic. If you make a joke with it, um, that logic has persisted from that, from the very foundations of that subreddit, and I'm really glad it did, because there's so many indie artists that are spawned off of that. There's one artist that only does the same drawing of asteroids slamming into dinosaurs, and it's always different text on there, but it's like it's the exact same comic every time. It's very well known. I forgot the name of it now, but you're you don't let people define what your art is. Just make it. Just make whatever you want to make, and it'll be something that is of value to not just you, not just to the people around you or whatever, but it lets us be able to expand our expression to a point where I'm just excited to see what you guys do. And let me know about it. Please share it. That would be, oh, thank you. That's cute. All right, guys. Well, I know it's about 15 minutes early or so, and I want to be able to fill that time here, but I think that at this point I'm gonna take my anniversary break here. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Please check out my comics at gnarlycomics.com or victorgnarly.com, whichever takes you to the same place. I'll probably squeeze a Twitch stream in between now and my anniversary. Probably. I didn't do it last week, but I'll do it at some point. So I hope to see you guys. If there's anything else, feel free to interject, Kinky EC. But for now, I think that's it for me.
I just hope y'all come on by over the weekend. We are there for 16 hours, so if you want to stop by, you can find time. And if you do come, you don't have to feel obligated to stay the whole time. There are maniacs that stay the whole time, but you don't have to. It's just have fun, pop in and out, make a couple prompts, and enjoy yourself. But as for now, I hope this man has himself a lovely week with his wife. We will talk to you next time.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that, Kinky. And if you do join the voice chat inside the server, I'll pop by for a minute. But but Rhapsody's not here, and we're just gonna take it a bit easy. So I may just pop by to say hey and stuff. But you guys are more than welcome to join the voice chat inside of the Movie Machine Discord. And we'll you're more than welcome to kind of share what you guys are working on, and I wanna hear it. Okay.
All right.
But thank you guys so much for joining.
Bye-bye.
Bye.